Our country honors the anniversary of 9/11. We've heard so many stories of bravery and triumph, but our next guest is telling a story that's been called the greatest 9/11 story you've never heard. It's about the heroic mariners who answered the moral call to save people fleeing Manhattan before receiving an actual call. In her book, Saved at the Seawall, Stories from the September 11th Boat Lift, author Jessica DuLong describes her role in that effort beside the stories of many others who jumped into action. I want to read an excerpt from the book. It says, not until 10:45 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, did the United States Coast Guard issue the official call for all available boats to transport people off Manhattan Island. But tugs, ferries, dinner boats, and other vessels had already begun racing to the rescue from points all across the port of New York and New Jersey hours earlier. As the World Trade Center was attacked and then quickly fell to the ground, survivors, civilians caught instantly in a war, some covered in blood and soot, fled south until they ran out of land at the water's edge. In less than 9 hours, approximately 800 mariners aboard 150 vessels delivered nearly 500,000 people from Manhattan. This was the largest maritime evacuation in history, larger even than the boat lift at Dunkirk. Yet the story of this heroic effort has never fully been told. Joining us now is author Jessica DuLong, who is also the chief engineer emerita of Fireboat John J. Harvey. Jessica, I want to help paint the picture for people who have either never been to New York or never had this kind of experience so that they can better understand why people needed to be rescued by boat from New York. So can you kind of describe what the inner workings of the New York Harbor are like on a typical day versus what they were like on 9/11?
Yeah, so even folks who live in New York often forget that Manhattan is an island. We get very comfortable using the bridges and the tunnels. We have this sense that everything is connected, but really it's an island, and especially at the tip of Manhattan, which is where the Trade Center towers were, depending on where you are geographically, you can really get sort of cut off from any other means of transportation off the island. Many people fled over the bridges, the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge, of course, and many people walked north. But there were some people, just based on the geography, who ended up trapped by debris piles, by the dangerous situation, and literally were pressed up against the seawalls, against the railings, begging for help to get off the island by boat.
And so as that happens, what function exactly did the mariners perform on 9/11? How did they help these evacuations happen, help people get home safely?
Well, the first sort of wave of the evacuations happened immediately. So within 1 minute after the first plane hit, there are ferry boat captains who are already in the area. So they're typical commuter run. They're picking up passengers at the World Financial Center, which is just adjacent to the World Trade Center. And they knew from experience that any transportation shutdown or disruption at the World Trade Center would mean that their services as ferry boats would be in order. Of course, this was not just an accident, and things cascaded. And then as the morning went on, every kind of vessel you could think of ends up contributing to the rescue and pulling people onto their boats, helping people aboard in very different ways and bringing them to safer shores.
Right. And I wonder for you personally, it's been 2 decades since this happened. I feel like lots of people who experienced 9/11 in some way personally are kind of reevaluating. You waited until now to tell your story, to tell this story. Why now?
I think really the beginning of my commitment to tell this story, which I was very, very reticent to take on, quite honestly, because my own service at Ground Zero means that I still deal with the psychological fallout of being there. And it took years for me to want to have any conversation about September 11th. But on the 10th anniversary, I saw that this story about this absolutely tremendous, improvised, spontaneous, unplanned, completely necessary, totally successful rescue was not getting any recognition. And it's such an important part of the history of who we can be and who we have been for each other, and the way that people came together in the aftermath of the attacks, that it felt really important. Both I felt an obligation as a mariner, this is my community, but also as a historian, a journalist, someone who could write this story and put it down for the history books. And that's really what propelled me forward to get over my own hesitation to talk about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear so much about togetherness afterward, and this is a perfect example that I've never heard of until now either. And if I can end our conversation together with another excerpt from your book that I found powerful, you said, "We have much to learn from the mariners and others who, when the plane struck, stepped out of their workday roles to become first responders. Over and over again, they chose to help. They recognized fellow humans in peril and did all they could to come to their aid. Each of us has this capacity within. What choices can we make today to act out our hope, our humanity? How can we connect with others by listening, really listening to their stories? In this time, unlike any we have known, the story of the largest boat lift in history serves as a vital reminder of the reflexive resourcefulness and resounding human goodness that light up the darkest days." Jessica, how did this day change you, and how did your role in it change how you lived your life every day after?
It changed absolutely everything. I wouldn't even know where to begin to describe that. But certainly what I saw was the humanity that is responsible for all the good and all the evil in the world. And that just as dark as you can imagine a day and as harrowing, it was really met by this human impulse to help each other. And there's nothing like a global pandemic for us to realize how completely, utterly interdependent we are. That, combined with the climate crisis, we absolutely are interconnected. And so much of our attention gets focused on the things that keep us apart and our divisiveness. And this is a crucial, crucial piece of our heritage, who we have been and who we need to be able to move forward. We have to rely on each other to come together.
Yeah. Well, Jessica, thank you for sharing this story. I also owe you a special thank you. My dad, who's probably watching right now, that's how he got home from Manhattan that day, on a ferry. So I got to hug my dad that night because of you and people like you. So I appreciate you so much. I'm not going to cry on TV today. I promised myself I wouldn't, but thank you so much for your service and everything you've done.
I'm so glad that he made it home. That's